Let me get this going again. So yeah, thanks for joining today. I don't know if you guys are working or not since it's President's Day, but if you took time out of your schedule, I appreciate it. Just a little bit of news. So our first kiosk built that we have is going up now in West Virginia. They have the building is up, the doors are installed, they're doing the siding now. Next will be the roofing, and then they're gonna do the in floor stuff, and then just get everything in the building. And we're looking at possibly a let's see, April 7th and 8th grand opening for that 2-bay kiosk that's being built. And then the next one in line is going to be Brandon Camerzell, who was on the call. So Brandon will be the first 1-bay kiosk that we do. So we're super excited for that. Tamlin and Willem in West Virginia are the first 2-bay that we're doing. And that's the one being built right now. So a couple of things that I want to go over. First of all, if you're not on Slack, please join Slack. That is the fastest way to get to us, especially like if I'm out of the office and you guys need to reach me directly. Emails, I don't check them all the time when I'm out of the office. I'll check them every couple of hours, but it's not something that's on my radar. If you need me, get on Slack. That will be the quickest way to get to us. Somebody in the office can reach you and get back to you, if not myself personally. Something that I do want to talk about is Oil U as well. So Oil U is what we use for all of our training and all of our Discovery Day stuff that we have. We put up on there. All of these calls are on there. So if you ever miss a call, it is actually on the Oil U website, and you can get into that and watch all of the old ones that we've done throughout the weeks. But it is a tool that can be used to help you with whatever issue or whatever question you might have. I would check Oil U first. If you go to Oil U, you click on guides. There's a bunch of how-to guides, best practices. There's short videos, just a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, just talking about one issue or another that you can overcome with maybe vehicles. So one of the things that I have is so F-150s have these new types of drain plugs, and it's a plastic drain plug, right? So we go over that, right? So those are little types of things that we have on there. Please use Oil U. That's what it's there for. It's a resource for you. If you're having issues getting into it right now, if you haven't created an account yet and you're having issues getting into it, we are working on that. We have our ops people in the background, our tech guys that we use are fixing it. Our website actually had a lot of Russian people joining, which in the grand scheme of things, that's not that bad. But if it's like a bunch of them, most of the time it's bots. So we're kind of just cleaning up the system. So if you're having issues getting into it, that's why. But we are planning on having that back up and running if you don't have an account by the end of today or by tomorrow. So we'll get that taken care of. It is February. It's the end of February, which means that we're going into March now. March, April, and May are really, you're going to see every single week, you're going to see more cars and more cars and more cars. That's the way that this business works. I talk about it every week almost, about that ramp up period, but it's not just about you guys opening up and being successful in your ramp up period. It's also about our seasonal ramp up periods. And all of those are going to be different. So like Ryan and Mesa, his seasonal periods are different than somebody that's here in Pennsylvania. But just off the data that we see, March starts to get warmer, April it starts to get warmer, May. You have spring break coming up. You have all of those family vacations during the summertime. Kids are out of school, so they're doing stuff. So people are driving a lot more. And people are just out and about generally more when it's warmer out. So as we get those warmer days coming through, you can expect to see more vehicles on the road. More vehicles on the road can turn into more customers, and so on and so forth. We did really well through this through the wintertime. I kind of touched on it a little bit last week, but during the wintertime, we run a smaller crew than we do during the summertime. Our ordering changes a little bit, especially on our oil and on our filter products. And then also we have more of the ancillaries that we can do because the oil gets thicker during the winter months when it's cold outside. If it's hot outside, you walk outside and it's 80 degrees. Your oil in your vehicle is already at the viscosity that's going to be at. It doesn't have to really warm up. But in the wintertime, it can be colder. So there are things that you can do, like additives that True brands sell, especially for gas mileage and all that type of stuff. So they sell in these jet fuels, engine cleans, all that type of stuff. So those are products that we can sell during the wintertime, but also the high mileage treatments, the engine cleans, the fuel treatment, so on and so forth. We can do a lot of those in the summertime as well. Just to think about some things that if you're in a wetter climate where it rains a lot, making sure that we can get wiper blades sold, so on and so forth. So that's really a lot that I have to talk about. I just want to talk about the ramp up periods, making sure that you guys are on Slack to reach out to us in communications, and using OilU. That's what OilU is there for. We want to put out as much content for you guys as possible, and be there an extra resource for you. So if you're sitting up one night, you have a question, and maybe you can't answer us or get a hold of us because it's 11 o'clock at night. But if you're like, man, I wonder if this is on there, and then you check OilU and it is, that's great. But if it isn't, send us a message and say, hey, can you answer this question? And more than likely, we'll make a video about it so everybody can see. And that's just ways that we can all help each other, right? So if there's issues that Mitch is having, that Brandon might have later on, that can help out later on down the road. Same thing with Brian Badillo. If he has a question, maybe Antonio has already found that answer and make an answer for it. So that's what this whole process is about. That's what franchising is about for us, is innovative and being able to work through the system together wherever you guys are, whatever kind of problems you guys are seeing. So I want to open it up for any questions that you guys might have for this week.
Hey, thanks, Brandon. Mitch here from Holland. Just wondered if you could share like where we are on the bulk oil prices. I know you're looking at another firm besides PetroChoice. Wondered where we are on that and what kind of pricing we're seeing right now for some of our 0.20 and 530 Dexos. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So I am reaching out to a secondary supplier. I know that in the past, PetroChoice has been great for us, but some markets, they are having to use third-party resources to get those orders fulfilled. And Brian Gorman is our rep, we've been talking to about that, and he is saying that if you're using a third-party resource, they don't charge anything on top of it, but there's no way for them to. So let's say that we're buying, we're right now we are buying our synthetic blend for $9.29, I think, a gallon. Our full synthetic, we are at $11.75 a gallon now. But that's directly through PetroChoice. So if you are in a market where PetroChoice doesn't provide it from their factory or from their refineries, and they have to use a third-party resource, we're beholden to the prices of that third-party vendor. So if they're paying $12.50 a gallon, PetroChoice won't be able to charge you the $11.75. They'll charge you the $12.50. They don't make any money on top of it, but that's why I'm reaching out to a secondary option for all of our franchisees. And the company right now that we're reaching out to is called Relodyne. They carry a very wide inventory list, just like PetroChoice does. They carry the 530 Dexos, the 020 Dexos, so on and so forth. So we haven't gotten prices back from them yet. Now, they have been saying to me that they're going to be really aggressive on their pricing for us. But at the end of the day, they are a business just like PetroChoice, and they get their oil from a massive supplier, and then they distribute it out as their own company. So we're trying to get those prices down. But yeah, as of right now, we're paying $9.29 for synthetic blend and $11.75 $12.25 for full synthetic. The 020, however, is $12.25, I believe. The 020 is more expensive right now. They haven't really given me a reason why it is. It's just, I guess, I think the process is a little bit more intensive for that specific weight of oil or that specific viscosity. So they do charge a little bit more for it.
Okay, and Brandon, on the 530 and the 020, are those Dexos certified or just certified full synthetic?
Nope, they are Dexos. Yep.
All right, thank you very much. I'm
Yep.
gonna try to negotiate with my supplier right now, and we're paying $13.30 a gallon for both of those.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's every year. So at the end of the year, back in December, so we have a few different local suppliers. So like if PetroChoice, let's say that PetroChoice is going to take 4 days to get us a barrel of 55 gallon barrel of 020. I have a guy like, let's say Eastern Ohio, they can get us a barrel in a day. So if we have to, we can pull from that and use them to kind of fill the gaps. But every December, I go out and I pretty much talk to all of our vendors that we have. We have 4 of them. And PetroChoice is our main vendor, obviously, for all of our bulk. But if there's something that we need in a pinch, we can get it from the other 3 that we have. And they're also territory specific. So we have one in Eastern Ohio that covers the Cleveland and Ohio area. We have one in Illinois, Chicago, and then we have one in Central PA. But when I go out to talk to them, I say, hey, I know that there's been price increases throughout the year. What can we do about getting these prices back down to where we were? And I don't know if some of you guys have been with us since the 2021, the late 2020, 2021, early 22s. But there was like 6 price increases on oil over those periods, and we only saw 2 of them. PetroChoice was able to keep those costs down for us because we are so large. We have a little bit of brand equity with them. When you order, 2 million gallons of oil a year, it's they tend to try to keep us happy. When those prices go up, if the oil drops back down, well, they're not going to take their prices down, right? I mean, if business is business. So if let's say it goes up $2 over the year, but oil goes back down to $60 or $50 a barrel, where it's cheaper for them to get it, they're not going to say, oh, prices of oil are cheaper, we're going to drop these down. So you have to go out and be proactive, and I do that once a year. So in December, we reach out to all of our oil vendors and providers and say, hey, this is what the oil prices are. Can we get back down to where we were? And most of them will. We were almost at $14 for full synthetic, and we were close to $11 for our blend. We got them back down to where we were. But like back in 2018, oil was like $3. Synthetic blend was like $3 a gallon, and full synthetic was like $6 a gallon. So obviously, it went up a little bit over the years, but it seems like things are starting to plateau out a little bit. And we can get those prices down for you. I know it's a long-winded explanation, but I kind of wanted to give you guys the whole transparency of the oil industry and how that works.
Hey Brandon, it's Brian Badillo. I was talking to a buddy of mine who just happens to have some background in the space a little bit. He worked for Mobile many years, and actually in the marketing side now. I may make an introduction at some point, but I was talking a little about kind of just the business in general, and he was talking about like the duality between oil change, the intervals, right, and some of the recommendations and stuff like that. But what he talked about is even like with synthetic oils, he goes, right, again, I'm a newbie here, but it's really about the filter as much as it is the oil, right? With some of those longer mileage oils. And I was just curious if we've ever looked at or thought about, like, it's almost like the filter needs to get replaced before the oil needs to get changed. I don't know if you had any thoughts around that. Again, this is just coming from one person, so I hadn't heard that. But what's your take on kind of the idea of, right, the filter actually will is not meant to last 10,000 miles, even though some of these cars say to go 10,000 miles. How true is that? Is there anything to that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And people think like there's so many different myths and people say this and that. And so yes, you are right. So for my personal opinion and the way that I see this is that the filter is more important than the oil. Now, that being said, the newer vehicles nowadays that take the canister filter and the cartridge filter, those cartridge filters can go up to 15,000 miles. So if somebody comes in and, you know, their filter has only been used for 3,000 miles, um, is it okay to use that filter again? Sure. Now, it's not recommended, obviously, if they're coming in for an oil change it out every time.
Mm-hmm.
But the oil itself, now, the thing about oil is that over time, with heat and cold, oil eventually, with all the impurities and everything that gets into it from the carbon buildup and everything, um, I wouldn't run the oil longer than the filter. That makes sense. Like the filter is important, but I personally think that the oil, because of what can happen, if it's not lubricating the parts correctly, if it's super dirty, at some points you can have so much carbon buildup that it can start to wear on the lifters, and it can wear on the lobes of the timing lobes that get coated in that oil. Not only that, but you also have to think about the oil pump itself, right? So there's a filter and a screen at the bottom of that oil pump. So if you get gunk and debris from that oil being used more than it should, it will clog that filter, which means that not enough oil will be getting up to your lifters, and that's where people start getting that lifter tick, right? If you ever heard a vehicle that's like really loud, like tick 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 tick, tick,
Mm-hmm.
that means the oil is not getting up to those lifters. So to me, changing the oil out is super important. The filter is obviously important, but as we go in this industry and oils get better and things change, and you know, Chevy for the Dexos products, Dexos, they're always testing out that oil. It always goes through test every year to see what they can improve on in their detergents and their packs that they put into it. We have 016 that is being ran now in the new Hondas and Acuras, and then they're actually testing 08 right now as well for the new Hondas for like 2024 Hondas. The back number is a formula, and I'm not 100% sure what the formula is, but 08 is almost the consistency of water. So it's not going to have a huge lifespan. So yeah, you can go, your 3,000, your 5,000 miles, but like pushing it to 10,000, 12,000. I mean, that's really pushing that oil when it can get that dirty and it can damage the oil pump and so on and so forth. So yeah, there are two really big keys to that. But for me, changing the oil is more important than changing the filter.
Yeah, my only thought on that when he mentioned that was I was even thinking the other way is like, can you, if people are waiting, right, those longer intervals, is like a filter replacement, another revenue opportunity for us, right? If they're not going to come back for another whatever. I was thinking the other way, right? So just to get them to come back again. I don't know if that's something, but I don't know if that even makes sense, or you would just do the full oil change anyway. I don't know if people are thinking about it that way or not. That was my only thought behind it.
Yeah. Me personally, just for um, process it, I guess, for the process oriented and also liability, if possible, that I would change both, obviously.
Yep.
But like I said, those canister filters, like if you don't have a canister filter and they're not willing to wait, if they say like, hey, go ahead and just change the oil and don't change the filter, um, then obviously that's their call. And we have them notify that on the receipt, so we don't have the liability of that. But if it's a very specific filter, I mean, I know some guys that drive Mercedes. We have customers that drive Mercedes, and they change their canister filters every three oil changes. They change their canister filters every 15,000 miles, which the filter looks awful when it comes out at that third interval. But That's to me seeing that the filter can take it, that it can still filter the oil. That to me shows that the filter is longer lasting than the oil itself.
Cool. It's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
So Brandon, a week or two ago, we were talking about staffing schedules, like full-time, part-time, 1 bay, 2 bay.
Yeah.
Did you get that out on Slack somewhere?
I do have it out. I didn't put it into a document. I just wrote it up.
Okay, which channel? Which Slack channel? Sorry.
I don't have Slack on my home PC.
Oh, was it on? Did you send it on Slack or on Titan?
No, I sent it on Slack. I have to
Okay.
open up a separate browser.
But that's okay. I'll look for it. I never did see it, and I know somebody asked, but anyway, that's fine.
Yeah, Brant had asked about it, so I wrote it up and I sent it to him. I didn't post it in the channel. Let me pull it up and I can send that over.
Thanks. I just want to get your thoughts. Appreciate it.
So the way that I did it, and this, I'll send this over to you right now if you're looking at Slack. So this is the schedule that we run for a 2-bay, and you're doing 25 cars a day, right? So Monday we run a manager and then a full-time tech. Tuesday would be your manager's day off, so then you run your full-time tech and a part-time tech. Wednesday is your full-time tech's day off, so then it would be your manager and your part-time. Thursday is your manager and full-time, so then that would be your part-time tech's day off. And then Friday is manager, full-time tech, and then I run a part-time tech half a day. If you're only doing 25 cars, there's no reason to have him there all day. And then Saturday you run all 3. So at the end of it, and I know just saying it out loud, you can't really picture it, but for those hours, your manager would get 45 hours. Full-time tech would get 45 hours, and then that part-time tech would get anywhere from 32 to 36 hours. So they're not doing any overtime. And that's based on a 9-hour day between 9 and 6 every day. Closed on Sundays for us. We're not open on Sundays, but if there's other franchisees that do want to open on Sundays, then you are more than welcome to do that. But we at the corporate level don't, unless it's specified by the community. We do have 3 stores that are open on Sundays for 4 hours, but that's because the community, after a year or two, always kept reaching out saying, "Hey, I really wish you guys would open on Sunday. Can you open on Sunday, please?" And then we finally did, and we do, 10, maybe 12 cars on that Sunday, but it's enough where it's not cutting into our labor, and the guys get some extra overtime if they want it for that Sunday.
The Sunday one's interesting. I know Take 5 here in the Dallas area, they're open on Sundays, but most aren't. They're I always drive by to see what's going on, but they usually have cars. I think it was the Valvoline I drove by as well that was open. That was fairly busy. So there's demand, at least in my area, for Sunday. But I was curious what others' thoughts were on that, if anybody was doing it yet.
Yeah, I think most of our franchisees that are open right now, if not all of them, are not open on Sundays. My biggest thing is making sure that your guys' labor is within a reasonable rate. And if you guys open for a full day on Sunday and do 2 cars, then that's just going to kill your labor. And that's just going to make your overall margin smaller. But if you have the community going out and saying, "Hey, we'd love to have you open on Sundays," that's what we gauge it off of. The community is going to respond to you. You are going to hear what the community wants out of you, be it on Facebook, be it on Google, be it just word of mouth. If you have friends in the area and somebody comes in and gets an oil change and they're like, "Hey, this person from my church would love to come see you guys, but the only time that they have to see you is on Sundays, and you guys aren't open," so on and so forth. So that's the type of stuff that we look for. Our Chambersburg store, we just opened up January 1st. And they weren't open on Saturdays. Like the company, the people that we ended up taking the store over from was open from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. And we looked at their numbers. The first thing that we did was we changed it from 8 to 5. And the second thing we did was we opened up on Saturdays. And the techs that we inherited from that company was like, yeah, we used to do, 50 cars on a Saturday, but they hadn't done 50 cars on a Saturday in like 4 years. So the owner, who was getting older, we actually purchased it from a gentleman who was in his 90s. He was just like, hey, I'm ready to get out. So we took over the store. But slowly but surely, they ended up taking the hours down. They used to be open until 7, and then back in the early 2000s, I think they changed it to 6 o'clock, and then like 2012 they changed it to 5 o'clock, and then eventually they took it down to 4:30. So when we came in, one of the first things that we did was open up on Saturday, and change the hours to 8 to 5. Now, the only reason we did 8 to 5 and not 9 to 6 is because they've had such a big reputation in that area for being open at 8 o'clock that there is enough customers from that 8 to 9 o'clock hour to justify staying open. But our normal schedule, if it was a normal store, we would just be open from 9 to 6 Monday to Saturday, and then stay closed on Sunday. But it's something that you're gonna be able to judge in your own market and make that decision. If you want to be open, you can. It's always easier to add things than take things away, in my opinion, because you can do all the marketing and stuff and say, now open on Sundays from 10 to 2 or 10 to 4 or whatever you want to do. But being like taking it away and then having customers show up that used to get their oil changed on Sundays and now they can't, that is going to be detrimental to your company. So I always say adding things is better than taking things away. Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, it's about 4 o'clock. We're going to jump off here and we'll be back next Monday. I will be in Arizona with Matthew Hurtado. He has a conversion that he's going to be opening up soon. So I will still be on the call at 11 next week. But if I'm a few minutes late, just bear with me. I'm probably still going to be in a hotel room somewhere trying to get everything set up. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on Slack. And if anybody has any further questions, we're happy to answer them for you. Have a great rest of your week.